This is Boiler Down 1, and this is part 18 of my building the Flying Dutchman. Welcome if this is your first time that you've stumbled upon this channel. I've got 17 other episodes from start to finish, and it took almost a year for me to build this ship. Before I go too far into showing you the finished ship, I want to mention two people. First, I want to thank Mark in the suburbs of Savannah, Georgia. He's probably my #1 fan and supporter. He has purchased some items from me directly and has been a great encouragement to me throughout this build. So Mark, I appreciate you and thank you very much. Next is Blue Street Customs. And this individual just happened to start building the Flying Dutchman about the same time I did. And we must have been searching for information on the build. And we've just kind of work together, so I would encourage you to check out his channel. He has a little more expertise and knowledge in shipbuilding than I do, and his ship is coming along just fine, although I think I'm going to beat him in the finished product. So do a search on Blue Street Customs on YouTube. He does a lot of modeling, both plastics and model ships, but he's done an excellent job on his Flying Dutchman also. Next thing I want to briefly discuss is what am I going to do next? And I've decided that because I'm now kind of an intermediate builder, I want to go back and help some people that are just getting started. And I had built this HMS Victory, very inexpensive version, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to buy one and follow along on this build. I want to build it again because I've learned so much more about planking and model shipbuilding that I think it would be a great help to a beginner. With the knowledge I've gained, I think I can help someone build this ship and get you started before you spend several $100s on a ship. Let's try and keep it under 100 for sure. And it's not one of the super simple ones, so it'll give you some challenges too. I also want to make some videos on some tools that I've acquired. Thanks to Mark down in Savannah, Georgia, he sent me a couple of tools that he thought would be helpful for me. So I will break those out and show you how well they work. So I'm going to do a series on some of the tools that I have and that I use. And hopefully you'll find that interesting also. Then I'll move on to my next large ship. You may have noticed that I've added these bases. I made these bases on a 3D printer, and then I copper them and then age the copper. And this is the look that I wanted to get for all these areas on the ship, all these caricatures or cannon port and on the rear of the ship. But for some reason, this metal, you see this has some copper on it, but it will not get the patina when I tried it. And I've done it with numerous parts, and I tried painting the surface first, and it just would not work. Another thing that I think I will try, and this is thanks to Blue Street Customs, you will have seen in the video where I showed how you officially tie off lines to the belaying pins, and he just sticks the line through the hole and then puts the belaying pin and holds it. That may not be the authentic way to do it, but it's very difficult to get those looped, and then I cover it all up with the rope work anyway. So that's something that I would change. This is what I use to make those ropes that hang off the belay pins, and I took a just piece of scrap wood. This is about 24 millimeters or about an inch wide. Then I drilled holes, and they are from edge to edge about 13 millimeters or ½ inch apart. This could vary depending on the size ship that you're building. And I used aluminum nails. You could also use finishing nails, but they can rust, whereas these aluminum ones will not. Then use carpet tape, and you can't see it, but there's a thin layer of clear plastic on top of this. That's so the glue will not stick to the wood. Then on this edge, these are brass nails with the heads cut off. And here's how this works. So in this first one, I'm just gonna tuck that thread down in that hole. That'll hold it. And I'm gonna come And I'm going to, let me get my favorite pair of tweezers for this. So I've been going 3 wraps. So there's 1, 2. On the third one, then I go to this brass nail and I loop around it and come back and do at least 3 more. You can vary the thickness however you want. And then when you get to that thickness that you want, and it's good to have a variety of different thicknesses, you just simply go over to the next 2 nails and do the same thing. And you're going to continue that all the way down until you fill all these in. Once you get done with that, this is just regular paper glue. I use Elmer's school glue, and then water it down so it's about the consistency of milk, maybe even closer to 2% milk instead of whole milk, but somewhere in that area. So it's fairly watery. And now you're going to coat all that rope line. I should have put plastic here because I really would like it on this also, but it doesn't need to be as much on that. Once I finish getting the glue on there, I'll take a little paper towel and tweezers and dab up around the edges, tap back and forth and soak up some of that extra glue. Now we're going to let that dry and then go to the next step. At some point in the process, after it's dried, you'll need to cut all those lines that go in between. Now you'll need to carefully remove the nails. And now I'll take this off this brass pin. This is a good time to trim off any of the loose threads, anything that would show. Now you can use a nail, or I've been using tweezers, go into the opening of the hole. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. And I'm going to reach through and this is the piece that went down on that brass tab. And I'm going to grab this little circle. I'm going to pull it through the hole of the rope. And as long as you have excess, you're going to keep looping this around. So again, let me get this out of the way. Pull it back through again. The reason you do that, I don't know if you can see, but the part that's going to hang on the belaying pin, it's kind of holding out behind it. So when you put the belaying pin through there, as an example, I'll use this nail and get it open. See how the rope will hang down like it's naturally hanging there. That probably doesn't show that well, but it gives you an idea how that's working. I also will mention I would not consider this a beginner's ship. To me, minimally it's intermediate, and I think that's the stage that I am too. So for me, it was good because I learned some things. I kept my little frog leg bone in the lifeboat. You remember I made the oars myself. I like them better. I still like them better. The lighting I'm very happy with. Now, it's kind of unusual. This one right here, it will light up, but not for about an hour after I turn everything on. I'm not sure why, but it's kind of interesting. So I think I have them so they're just barely getting enough power to operate. Then the other thing that is unusual about this ship, and I think I've figured it out, it does not have a captain's wheel or any way to steer. Now you can see I put one in right back here. I think it's because it's a ghost ship and it doesn't need the captain to steer the ship. It steers on its own. If you're interested in knowing, I chose to do this part in 24 karat gold. That's very, very thin gold, but it is 24 karat gold. The rear of the ship, I think, turned out interesting. I like the look that I got there. Love my lanterns. Could have done a little better job getting them even. Rope work was a challenge, but I'm happy with it. I did cheat in some areas, I admit. Again, it's a learning process. So let me show you some unique things that I did. This is the lowest level of the ship, and you can see, I don't know, you can tell there's some barrels and wooden cases back there, but I also put an old ship's wheel right there, just kind of hidden in there. Right here, if you look closely, there's a treasure chest. It does have little gold coins in it. It's really gold confetti that happen to be shaped similar to a coin. In the Disney movie featuring this ship, one of the lines is part of the crew, part of the ship, and they're all turning into different sea creatures. So that's my motivation for having the shells and the plant life taking over the lower portion of the ship. Originally, I was going to do it all over the ship, and then I changed my mind. I do have cargo and things in that lowest level there. You can see a barrel. And further down, there's more cargo. Here you can see more cargo. I don't know if you can make out. There's a barrel back in there. Wooden crates. More sea life. And more barrels. This is from the rear of the ship moving forward. Now this particular statue is just sitting beside the ship, so I can move it if I'd like to. Now we'll go to the next level up on the ship. Might be able to see a little red in that very first cannon where it's reflecting back. You also might see the flicker of the LED lights in the background. Wanted them to look like lanterns. Not sure why, but they're kind of flickering in the lower level in unison. Not sure what caused that, but I'm fine with it. Continuing on, you might see another treasure chest right there passing by the center of the screen. There's a good view of one of those red cannons, and you can also see the seashells with the lights in them kind of lit up in the background and foreground actually. This is a good view of some of the extra rope work that I did where I made the loops of rope and hung them off the belaying pins. Then there's an addition here that I didn't cover in the video series. These are real tiny treble fish hooks. For safety, this one is bent in so you can't reach in there and snag your finger because they are very sharp. So in case someone would come up, so just in case someone would come up and stick their finger inside the ship, I didn't want them to get snagged. It still looks pretty good. You can't tell it's bent under, but it definitely is built under. Very good view of one of my shell lanterns. To the right, there are a few barrels, and then in the far area, you can see a stack of cannonballs there, a rack of cannonballs there. I've made a little wooden platform, drilled little holes for him to sit in. And then very subtly, there's a stick here, right about there, and that's to clean the barrel of the cannons with. One thing I would have liked to have done is I would have liked to have stained all the blocks a dark brown. I don't know why I didn't think of it. I should have. The other thing is I prefer black line as opposed to this tan. I went with what the manufacturer provided with the exception of the rat lines. The rat lines I did do the vertical lines in black and heavier. That's the other thing I would consider is using a thicker rope, because to me, anytime I've seen a ship that's real, the ropes are actually pretty thick and heavy. Just something I would do a little bit different. I'm very happy with my sails. Remember, I buried them outside. I'm going to do that the next time I build something that I want to look aged. that's exactly what I'll do. And it would probably be in the summer. It'd only be a matter of a few weeks to get the look. Then wash them. I wash them by hand. The other thing that I did at the end is I took my airbrush and I put in watered down black paint and I dirtied up the sails even a little bit more. So you can see on this one I dirtied it up some. This is the one that had a little pinkish to it and it was a little lighter than the others. But I did it to all of them to a certain extent. I have a laser printer, so I went ahead and made my own base that these are attached to. And what I did is used epoxy, put it on the base, and then drill up through the bottom and put a wooden peg in just to give it some additional support in case it gets bumped. I don't want it to get snapped off. It was rewarding. I learned a lot. I'm going to keep the instructions from this ship and use some of the planning, especially when it comes to rigging. Now that I understand how they did it, I think I can use that as a guide in future builds, especially when they don't come with much instructions. And I'll just keep sailing along. This is Boiler Dan 1. As always, thanks for watching.